The scent of wolfsbane and silver dust made Sarah's eyes water, but she didn't dare wipe them. Not here. Not in the lunar court, where weakness was hunted like prey. "Kneel," commanded Elder Thorn, his voice echoing off the obsidian walls. Sarah dropped to her knees, her simple gray dress pooling around her. Around her, 43 unbonded wolves stood in a perfect circle, their eyes glowing amber in the moonlight that poured through the domed glass ceiling. 43 pairs of eyes that had watched her fail this ritual every full moon for the past 3 years. "The moon goddess sees all," Elder Thorn intoned, lifting his gnarled staff. "She knows which among you are worthy of her gift." Sarah's hands pressed flat against her thighs, fighting to stay still. "Please," she prayed silently, "please, just this once. Let me shift. Let me be whole." The wolfsbane smoke thickened, and Elder Thorn began the ancient chant. One by one, the unbonded wolves began to shimmer and change. Sarah heard the wet crack of bone, the tear of clothing, the triumphant howls as wolf after wolf found their form. Sarah closed her eyes and reached for that place inside her where her wolf should be. The place that had been empty since her 16th birthday. She was 23 now, and that place was still a void. Heat built in her chest, spreading outward. For one glorious moment, she felt something. A flicker. A spark. Yes, she thought desperately. The magic recoiled. The heat vanished, replaced by a cold so deep it felt like drowning. The last unbonded wolf completed their shift. Young Corwin, who'd only turned 18 last week. All except Sarah, still kneeling in human form, still broken, still wrong. "The goddess has spoken," Elder Thorn announced. 42 blessed. One rejected once more. The whispers started immediately. 3 years. Still can't shift. Cursed. Sarah Blackwood. Elder Thorn's voice cracked like a whip. "Stand." She rose on unsteady legs, keeping her gaze fixed on the floor. "By the law of the Ashwood Pack, you have one more cycle," the elder said. "This will be your 4th attempt. If you fail again, she'll be exiled," came a new voice, sharp and female. Kaya, the Alpha's daughter, shifted back to human with practiced ease. "My father has been too lenient. 4 years is enough." "The law states 4 attempts," Sarah said quietly. "The law was written when shifters who couldn't transform were a myth," Kaya shot back. "You're an embarrassment. You consume resources, take up space. You're not a wolf, Sarah. You're nothing." The word hit like a physical blow. "One more moon, Sarah Blackwood," Elder Thorn said. "Prove yourself, or leave the Packlands forever." The circle parted, creating a path of shame. Sarah walked it with her head down, each step feeling like miles. Behind her, the other wolves began their celebration. The hunt. Outside, the cool night air hit her face. The lunar court sat at the highest point of Ashwood territory, gleaming under the full moon. Below, the pack lands stretched out in all directions. All of it would be forbidden in 1 month if she failed again. What about Mira? Her younger sister, only 14. Who would protect her from Kaya's cruelty if Sarah was exiled? A howl rose from inside, the signal that the hunt was beginning. Sarah turned away and started down the winding path. She'd taken maybe 10 steps when she felt it. A presence. Massive. Ancient. Watching. The air thickened with power that made her skin prickle. Slowly, she turned. At the tree line stood a wolf. But not just any wolf. This creature was enormous, easily twice the size of even the largest alpha. Its fur was pure midnight black, seeming to absorb moonlight. And its eyes. They burned silver white, like captured starlight, ancient and knowing. For a heartbeat, neither moved. Then the wolf stepped forward into moonlight, and Sarah saw the crown of silver fur marking its head like a coronet. The Alpha King. ruler of all packs in the Northern Territories, the most powerful shifter alive. And he was staring at her like she was the only thing in the world that mattered. Sarah ran. She didn't think, didn't question, just bolted down the path with her heart hammering. Behind her, silence. But somehow that was worse. The silence felt predatory. The Alpha King. Here. Looking at me. It was impossible. The Alpha King never visited minor packs. He ruled from the Obsidian Palace hundreds of miles north, appearing only for matters of war or law. Why would he be watching her? Sarah reached her cottage at the edge of Packlands and slammed the door shut, sliding down until she sat on the floor, gasping. I imagined it, she told herself. A knock sounded on her door. 3 measured strikes. Sarah Blackwood. A male voice, deep but not the king's. Too young. Open the door. I come on behalf of His Majesty. Sarah froze. I can hear your heartbeat, the voice continued with amusement, and smell your fear. Both are unnecessary. If we meant harm, a wooden door wouldn't stop us. With trembling hands, Sarah opened the door. A young man stood there, handsome with auburn hair pulled back. He wore royal guard attire, black leather and silver insignia. My name is Finn, he said with a slight bow. Beta to Alpha King Theron. His Majesty requests your presence. Why would the Alpha King want to see me? That's not information I'm privileged to share. Finn's expression remained neutral. Will you come willingly? Am I under arrest? No. Though I admit, most wolves don't look terrified when summoned to meet their king. Most wolves can actually shift, Sarah said bitterly. Something flickered in Finn's eyes. His Majesty is waiting in the Elders' Hall. Immediately. Sarah had no choice. You didn't refuse a summons from the Alpha King. The walk back felt like a death march. Other wolves returning from the hunt stopped and stared as she passed with a royal guard. The whispers followed like a cloud. Why? Is she being escorted? Did she do something wrong? The Elders' Hall was smaller than the Lunar Court, but no less imposing. Inside, candles lit the space. Elder Thorn stood to one side, nervous. Beside him, Kaya watched with narrowed eyes, her father, Alpha Marcus, at her shoulder. And at the far end, standing before the great hearth, was him. Alpha King Theron commanded the space like a force of nature, tall, taller than any wolf she'd ever seen, with broad shoulders and black hair that fell just past his collar. He wore dark pants and a simple black shirt that looked more regal than any crown. Your Majesty, Finn said, bowing. I've brought Sarah Blackwood. The Alpha King turned. Sarah's breath stopped. Sharp angles of face, high cheekbones, strong jaw. And those eyes, silver white, ancient and knowing, currently fixed on her with impossible intensity. Leave us, Theron said, his voice commanding. Your Majesty, Elder Thorn began. Leave us. Alpha Marcus bowed and ushered everyone out. Kaya cast one poisonous look at Sarah before following. Then the doors closed. Theron studied her in silence. Sarah forced herself to stay still under that piercing gaze. Finally, he spoke. Tell me, Sarah Blackwood, do you know why you can't shift? The question hit like a slap. No. I've tried everything. Because you were never meant to. Sarah stared. What? Theron moved toward her with fluid grace. He stopped an arm's length away, close enough that she could feel his heat, smell winter pine and smoke. Your wolf is dormant, he said quietly. Locked away behind a barrier so ancient I'm surprised your pack's healers never detected it. A barrier? But why? Because someone didn't want you to shift. His gaze seemed to glow brighter. Someone powerful enough to bind a wolf before birth. And that same, someone failed to hide you as well as they thought. I don't understand. Neither do I. Not yet. He tilted his head, studying her. But I'm going to find out. Starting with why, The moment I entered Ashwood territory, every instinct I possess began screaming at me to find you. Sarah's cottage had never felt smaller. Theron had insisted on escorting her home personally. Now the Alpha King stood in her cramped space, making the room feel even more confined by his presence. "You shouldn't be here," Sarah said. "People will talk." "Cursed? Broken? Wrong?" Theron's voice was sharp. "I heard what that girl said to you in the lunar court, every word." Heat flooded her cheeks. "You were watching?" "I arrived in Ashwood 3 days ago. I've been observing the pack, searching for signs of dark magic, waiting for tonight's ritual." "Why?" "I needed to see you attempt the shift, to confirm what I suspected, that you're not failing because you're weak." His gaze held hers. "You're failing because something is actively preventing it. When you reached for your wolf tonight, I felt the barrier fight back." Sarah sank into her only chair. "Who would do that? Why?" Theron crouched before her, bringing himself to eye level. This close, she could see flecks of blue in his silver eyes. "Tell me about your parents." "They died when I was 5, a rogue attack. I barely remember them." "Who raised you?" "The pack. I was passed between families until I was old enough to live alone. My younger sister Mira, she's 14, lives with the Baker family now." Theron's jaw tightened. "And before your 16th birthday? Any strange illnesses?" Sarah frowned, reaching back. "I was sick for about a week before my shift was supposed to happen. The pack healer said it was just nerves." "What were your symptoms?" "Fever, nightmares, and pain. Like something was trying to claw out of my chest, but every time it got close, it would snap back." Theron stood abruptly, hands clenching. "That bastard." "Who?" "Your pack healer. Aldrich." Theron began pacing. "Someone paid him to reinforce a binding that was starting to weaken. A barrier placed before birth wouldn't survive the surge of power that comes with a wolf's awakening." "But why?" "This isn't about punishment." Theron stopped, his stare locking on her. "This is about hiding you, keeping you weak so you wouldn't attract attention." "From who?" "From me." The words hung heavy between them. Theron moved closer. 3 months ago, I started having dreams. The same dream every night. A woman standing in moonlight, her face hidden. And a voice. The moon goddess herself. Telling me to find her. To claim her before the next blood moon. "The blood moon is in 1 month," Sarah said faintly. "I know. For 3 months, I've searched every pack, met hundreds of unmated females. None were her. Then tonight, I felt a pull so strong it nearly drove me to my knees. I followed it to the lunar court and saw you." "No." Sarah stood backing away. I can't be." "You felt it too," Theron said quietly. "When our eyes met. That recognition." She had. Even now, every cell in her body screamed to move closer. "This is insane," Sarah said, voice breaking. "I'm nobody. The weakest wolf in the pack. I'm not even a real wolf. Why would the moon goddess choose me?" "I don't know. But everything I've seen tells me someone has gone to extraordinary lengths to keep you hidden, to keep you from becoming what you were meant to be." "Witches?" "I don't know that either." He stepped toward her, slow and careful. "But I'm going to find out. And I'm going to break whatever binding is holding your wolf captive." "And if you can't?" Something fierce blazed in his eyes. "Then I'll spend the rest of my life hunting down whoever did this and making them pay." The raw protectiveness sent heat through her body. This was the Alpha King, promising vengeance on her behalf. "I need to examine the binding," Theron said gently. "It requires touch and trust. Will you allow it?" Sarah nodded. "Yes." Theron closed the distance. He cupped her face between his palms, touch gentle. "Close your eyes. This might hurt." Sarah obeyed. She felt his thumbs brush her temples, felt his power rising. Then he pushed into her mind, and pain exploded through her skull. Sarah gasped, gripping his wrists. Theron's voice filled her head, warm and steady. I've got you. Stay with me. The pain spread through her chest. She felt Theron's consciousness moving through her mind space. And then, he found it. The barrier was like brushing ice in darkness, cold, solid, ancient. She heard Theron's sharp breath, felt his shock. By the goddess. This is old magic, older than any pack law. The barrier fought back. Sarah screamed as agony lanced through her. The binding came alive, lashing out. She felt it wrapping around her wolf, her poor, trapped wolf, and squeezing. Through the pain, she felt something else, a presence inside her, finally close enough to touch. Her wolf, crying out in anguish and desperate joy at being seen. I'm here, Sarah tried to tell her wolf. The binding contracted sharply. Both Sarah and her wolf screamed. Theron's power flared, trying to shield them, but the magic was too strong. It threw him out with force that sent them both staggering. Sarah collapsed, gasping. Tears streamed down her face. From pain or joy, she wasn't sure. She'd felt her wolf. For the first time in 23 years, Theron caught himself against the wall, chest heaving. His eyes blazed silver white, voice rough with rage. Someone doesn't just want to hide you, they want to keep you from ever becoming whole. That binding isn't just suppressing your wolf, it's killing her. Slowly. Sarah looked up, hope and terror warring. Can you break it? Theron's expression was grim. Not alone. That magic is too old, too powerful. I'd need the moonfire ritual. What's that? An ancient ceremony performed only during the blood moon. It can break any binding. He crouched, taking her hands. But it requires something most wolves would never risk. What? His gaze held hers, intense and unwavering. A complete soul bond. Two souls merge so thoroughly that they share everything: power, life force, pain, joy, all of it. Sarah's breath caught. You're saying that to free my wolf? I'd have to bond my soul to yours. Yes. No hesitation. And there's no guarantee it would work. Your wolf might be too damaged to survive even if we free her. So I could bond my soul to yours for nothing. You could. His grip tightened. But I've seen what's inside you. I've felt your wolf's spirit. She's strong. She's been fighting for 23 years and hasn't given up. Neither have you. If you're willing to risk it, then so am I. Sarah stared at this impossible man offering to bind his soul to hers. It was insane. Reckless. But when she looked in his eyes, she saw no doubt. Only certainty. And something fierce and possessive that made her pulse race. Why? You could have anyone. Why risk everything for me? Theron's smile was slight but devastating. Because the moon goddess doesn't make mistakes. And because when I look at you, I don't see a broken wolf. I see my mate, my equal, my queen. The last word hit like lightning. Before she could respond, Theron stood, pulling her up with him. But the choice is yours. You have 1 month until the blood moon. 1 month to decide if you'll risk everything for a chance to be whole. He moved toward the door. Wait, she called. What happens now? Theron paused at the threshold. Now, you rest. Tomorrow I'll begin investigating who bound you and why. And in 1 month, at the blood moon gathering, you'll give me your answer in front of every pack in the Northern Territories. Then he was gone, leaving Sarah alone with a racing heart and a choice that would change everything. After fitful sleep, morning brought another summons. Kaya arrived with 2 warriors, her smile not reaching her eyes. The Alpha King requests your presence at breakfast, in the Great Hall, with the entire pack council. The walk through the village was excruciating. Word had spread. The Alpha King had spent hours alone with the wolfless girl. Maybe he's investigating her. probably deciding her exile. The great hall was packed. Alpha Marcus sat at the head, Elder Thorn at his right, and at the opposite end sat Theron. He looked up as Sarah entered, and something in his expression softened. "Ah, Miss Blackwood." Theron gestured to the empty chair beside him. "Please, join us." Every eye watched as Sarah crossed to that chair. She sat, and Theron immediately pushed food toward her. "You didn't eat last night. Eat now." It wasn't a request. "Now then," Theron said, voice returning to authority. "Let's discuss pack resources. Specifically, the allocation of healing services." Elder Thorn shifted uncomfortably. "Your Majesty, our healing system? Explain it to me." What followed was the most uncomfortable hour of Sarah's life. Theron questioned every aspect of how Ashwood ran, focusing on how the pack treated its weakest members. "And wolves who can't shift?" Theron asked casually. "What provisions are made?" Alpha Marcus cleared his throat. "Such cases are extremely rare, Your Majesty." "How fortunate." Theron's gaze slid to Sarah, then back. "And this one case, how has the pack supported her?" Silence. "She receives the same rations as any pack member," Elder Thorn said finally. "Fair." Theron's voice dropped dangerously. "She lives isolated at the edge of packlands. She's been told repeatedly that she's worthless, broken, a burden. Last night, in front of 43 witnesses, she was threatened with exile. Tell me, Alpha Marcus, how exactly is that fair?" Marcus's face flushed. "The girl has failed for years." 3 years, Sarah corrected quietly. Theron's lips quirked in approval. 3 years. Has anyone investigated why she can't shift? Considered a cause beyond weakness? "We consulted our healer," Elder Thorn said defensively. "Ah, yes. Aldrich." Theron stood, dominating the room. "Where is your healer? I'd very much like to speak with him." Kaya spoke carefully. "Aldrich left 3 days ago, Your Majesty, to gather herbs from the northern mountains." 3 days ago. Theron's smile was cold. "The same day I arrived." How coincidental. The implication hung like smoke. Understanding dawned on several faces. "You think our healer did something to her?" Marcus asked. "I think someone has been working hard to keep Sarah Blackwood weak and isolated, and I think that someone knew I was coming." He moved behind Sarah's chair, hand resting on her shoulder, a gesture everyone understood. "So here's what's going to happen," Theron continued. "Sarah will be moving to the Alpha's residence, under constant protection. Any wolf who speaks to her with disrespect will answer to me personally. And Alpha Marcus, you're going to provide every record of Sarah's medical treatment since birth. Your Majesty, with respect, she's not..." "Not what? Not worthy?" Theron's power flared, making several wolves whimper. "She's under my protection now. That makes her more important than every wolf in this room. Are we clear?" Marcus bowed. "Yes, Your Majesty." "Good. Council dismissed. Sarah, come with me." Outside, Theron finally turned to face her. "I'm sorry that was uncomfortable. You just humiliated the entire council for me. I defended you. There's a difference." His jaw was tight. "No one will disrespect you again. Not while I'm here. You can't stay forever. Then you'll come with me." His eyes were intense. "Whether you accept the soul bond or not, you're not staying here. This pack can't protect you. Once we break that binding, you'll need somewhere safe. You and your sister both." Before Sarah could respond, a howl split the air. Long, mournful, from the southern border. "Rogues," she whispered. Theron's demeanor shifted instantly. Lethal. "How many?" Another howl answered. 5 voices, maybe more. "Too many. The border is undermanned. Most wolves are sleeping after the hunt." Theron was already moving, flowing into his massive black wolf form. He looked back once, eyes blazing with promise, then took off toward the border. Finn appeared, already shifting. "Stay here. His Majesty wants you protected." Then he was gone, leaving Sarah alone as battle howls rose from the forest. Her wolf stirred, throwing herself against the binding. She wanted to fight, needed to protect him, Sarah realized. I need to protect him. Something was there, pulling at her, screaming that her mate was in danger. She started running toward the border. Sarah crashed through the forest, her human form pitifully slow. But she didn't stop. That pull in her chest grew stronger, dragging her forward like a chain. Battle sounds reached her first, snarls, howls, the wet sound of teeth meeting flesh. Then the smell, blood and fear, and something rotten. She burst into a clearing and froze. Chaos. Rogues, at least a dozen, had breached the border. But these weren't normal rogues. Their fur was matted and gray, eyes wild with madness. They moved wrong, jerky, like puppets on strings. Ashwood's warriors fought desperately, outnumbered. A rogue twice the size of any normal wolf took down 2 pack members at once, jaws crushing bone. And there, in the center, was Theron. He fought like a force of nature, every strike precise, devastating. A rogue lunged from behind and he spun, catching it midair and snapping its neck. Another from the left, and his claws opened its throat. But there were too many. More rogues emerged from the tree line, eyes fixed on him with singular purpose. They're hunting him. A rogue broke away, crazed eyes locking onto Sarah. Too late, she realized her mistake. She was human, weaponless, and defenseless. The rogue charged. Sarah stumbled backward. This was how she died. Theron appeared between them like shadow made flesh. His roar shook the trees as he met the rogue head-on. His jaws found its throat and tore. The rogue dropped dead. Theron shifted to human, grabbing Sarah's shoulders. "What are you doing here?" His eyes blazed with fury and fear. "I couldn't stay away when I felt you were in danger," Sarah gasped. He was already pushing her behind him as 3 more rogues converged. "Stay. Behind. Me." The rogues attacked as one. Theron shifted mid-leap, meeting them with devastating efficiency. But Sarah saw what he didn't. A 4th rogue, smaller, faster, circling behind. Toward her. "Theron!" she screamed. He spun, but too far away, engaged with the other 3. The rogue's eyes met Sarah's, and she saw intelligence beneath the madness. Recognition. "They're here for me." The rogue pounced. Sarah threw up her arms, and her wolf exploded to the surface, not a full shift. But something broke in the ancient binding and power flooded through her like lightning. Her hands sprouted claws, her teeth lengthened, her eyes. She could feel them burning, glowing with trapped light. The rogue's momentum carried it forward, but Sarah moved on instinct. She dove aside, her claws raking across its flank. The rogue yelped, twisting with confusion. Theron hit the rogue like a meteor, fury absolute. He tore into it with savage violence, and Sarah heard herself whimper at seeing him consumed by rage. The sound cut through his fury. He dropped the dead rogue and shifted back, chest heaving, covered in blood. His eyes found Sarah and widened. "Your hands," he breathed. Sarah looked down. Her hands were half-shifted, claws gleaming, and they were glowing, soft silver light pulsing with her heartbeat. "I don't," she started, but her knees buckled. The partial shift had drained her. She felt the binding snapping back, her wolf being shoved into her prison with brutal force. Theron caught her, cradling her against his chest. "Easy. I've got you." Around them, the battle was ending. Pack warriors had overwhelmed the remaining rogues, but several wolves lay wounded, at least 2 unmoving. Finn approached, breathing hard. "Your Majesty, border is secure." But these weren't normal rogues. They're infected with dark magic, and they were coordinated. Someone sent them. "I know." Theron's arms tightened. They came for her. Then she's not safe here. They'll try again. Stronger next time. We leave tonight, Theron decided. Gather the guard. Send word to the Obsidian Palace. I want every ward reinforced. And send wolves to collect Sarah's sister from the Baker family. She comes with us. Alpha Marcus appeared, limping. His eyes moved to Sarah's glowing hands with awe. What is she? That, Theron said coldly, is what someone has been trying very hard to prevent us from finding out. He lifted Sarah fully, preparing to carry her back, but she grabbed his shoulder weakly. Wait. The rogue that came for me. It knew who I was. I saw it in its eyes. Theron went deadly still. You're sure? Yes. Someone sent them specifically for me, and I think they weren't trying to kill me. They were trying to take me. The last thing she heard before darkness claimed her was Theron's voice, low and deadly. Over my dead body. Sarah woke in an unfamiliar bed, soft and smelling of pine and winter storms. She couldn't remember where she was. Then it flooded back. The battle, her partial shift. Her hands. She lifted them. They looked normal now, human. But she could still feel the echo of what they'd become. You're awake. Sarah turned to find Theron sitting beside the bed. His eyes were shadowed with exhaustion and something fierce. How long? 6 hours, nearly sunset. He leaned forward. How do you feel? Like I was torn apart and badly put back together. Sarah tried to sit, wincing. Theron was beside her instantly, helping her adjust. His hands were gentle but trembling slightly. You shouldn't have come to the border, he said quietly. When I saw that rogue charging you, I've lived 200 years. I've fought wars, faced down ancient evils, and I've never felt fear like I did in that moment. I'm sorry. I just felt you in danger. His eyes snapped to hers. You felt me? Yes, like a pull. Like something inside me was screaming that you needed me. She touched her chest. Here. The bond. It's already forming, even though we haven't completed the ritual. That shouldn't be possible. Nothing about this is possible. I shifted. Partially. How? Adrenaline, maybe, or the bond lending you strength. Theron's expression troubled. But you broke through a binding that should have been absolute. That's incredible, Sarah. It hurt. Like the binding was punishing me. Because it was. That binding is designed to cause pain whenever your wolf tries to surface. Sarah closed her eyes, fighting tears. Who would do this? Nothing you did wrong. Theron moved to sit on the bed, taking her hand. You are being hidden. Whoever bound you fears what you'll become. What could I become that would scare anyone? I don't know yet, but I've been thinking about that rogue's recognition and your partial shift, specifically the silver light. What about it? Silver is the color of the moon, of the goddess. His eyes were intense. Normal wolves have amber or gold eyes. Only 2 bloodlines in all wolf history have shown silver. The lunar line and the celestial line. Both are extinct. Sarah's heart began to pound. What are you saying? Your bloodline might not be what you think. Theron stood, pacing. Your parents died when you were 5. Convenient. You were passed between families, never forming real connections. Also convenient. And you were bound before anyone could see what color your eyes would be. You think someone killed my parents, Sarah said hollowly. I think someone tried to erase you, to hide what you are by making you seem worthless. But they failed. Because you survived. You protected your sister, kept fighting. And now the truth is surfacing whether they like it or not. If I'm from one of those bloodlines, then you're royalty. Ancient, powerful royalty that someone very much wanted to remain extinct. A knock interrupted them. Enter, Theron called. Finn stepped inside, grave. Your Majesty, We found the healer. Aldrich. Where? Dead. 3 miles past the northern border. An execution. Professional, clean. Someone made sure he couldn't talk. Theron's hands clenched. When? Around the same time as the rogue attack. While we were distracted. They're cleaning up loose ends. Anyone who knew the truth about Sarah is being eliminated. There's more. We found something on Aldrich's body. A letter. He must have known they were coming and hid it, hoping we'd find it. Finn handed over an envelope. Theron read in silence, expression darkening. Finally, he looked up, eyes blazing. It's a confession. Written before his death. He says he was paid to bind Sarah's wolf 23 years ago, paid to reinforce it every year on her birthday, and paid to report any signs it might be weakening. Paid by who? Sarah asked. He doesn't name them, but he says they're powerful, ancient, and absolutely cannot allow you to awaken. And he says if you do awaken, they'll do whatever it takes to eliminate you, including killing anyone you're bonded to. The threat hung in the air. Sarah felt something cold in her stomach. They'll come for you, she whispered. If we complete the soul bond, they'll try to kill you to get to me. Let them try. Theron's smile was sharp. I'm counting on it. You can't mean that. I absolutely do. He moved back, taking both her hands. They've operated in shadows for 23 years, but if they come for me directly, they'll have to reveal themselves. And once I know who they are, I'll destroy them. Sarah stared at him, seeing the ancient predator beneath. A male who'd ruled for 2 centuries, who'd crushed rebellions and ended wars, offering to put himself in danger for her. Why? You barely know me. Why risk so much? Theron cupped her face gently. Because when I look at you, I see my future, my queen, my equal. Because the moon goddess chose you for me, and I don't question her wisdom. And because the thought of living another 200 years without you is unbearable. Theron, you don't have to decide now, he said softly. You still have 3 weeks until the blood moon, but know this. Whether you choose the bond or not, I'm not letting you face this alone. These enemies are now my enemies, and I protect what's mine. I'm not yours, Sarah said breathlessly. Theron's smile was devastating. Not yet. He pulled back. Rest now. Tonight we leave for the Obsidian Palace. Your sister is being prepared for the journey. You'll both be safe there while we prepare for the ritual. And if I say no, then I'll find another way to break the binding. But either way, you're not going back to being hidden. It's time the world sees what you really are. After he left, Sarah lay back, mind spinning. 3 weeks to decide if she'd risk everything for freedom. But as she touched her chest, feeling that pull toward him even through walls, Sarah wondered if the choice had already been made. Mine, something whispered. He's mine. And for the first time, Sarah wondered if maybe she could be someone's too. 3 weeks at the Obsidian Palace passed like a fever dream. The palace was massive black stone and ancient magic that resonated in Sarah's bones. Her sister Mira adapted quickly, seeing it as adventure. But Sarah's time was consumed by preparation, by learning, by falling in love. It happened in stolen moments. Theron teaching her to read ancient texts, his patient voice guiding her. Shared meals where they talked for hours, late nights on the balcony when he'd simply stand beside her in silence, watching him train Mira with gentle patience and the dreams. Every night, she dreamed of him. Not nightmares, but memories that weren't hers. Emotions both foreign and familiar. She dreamed of running through moonlit forests, of a bond so complete that 2 souls breathed as one. She dreamed of being whole, but the closer they grew, the stronger the binding fought back. Pain came in waves, unpredictable and devastating. She'd be fine one moment, collapsed and screaming the next, and through it all, Theron stayed, held her. whispered promises that she'd be free, never alone again. Now, standing in her chambers as servants helped her into the ceremonial dress for the blood moon gathering, her hands shook. Tonight. The ritual was tonight. "You look beautiful," said Lyra, a wolf who'd become a friend. She adjusted the silver circlet in Sarah's hair. "Are you ready?" Sarah stared at her reflection. The dress was stunning, midnight blue capturing starlight, silver embroidery tracing moons and wolves. The circlet marked her as what Theron had declared, a potential queen, a wolf of ancient lineage, his chosen mate. "I don't know. What if it doesn't work? Or what if it works perfectly?" Lyra squeezed her shoulder. "What if tonight you finally become who you were always meant to be?" A knock. Finn entered in formal black leathers. "It's time. The packs are assembled. His Majesty is waiting." Sarah followed through corridors filled with wolves from every pack, all here to witness the blood moon gathering, all here to witness her triumph or devastating failure. The ritual grounds were a massive courtyard open to the sky, where the blood moon hung huge and red. A perfect circle of ancient standing stones marked the sacred space, and in the center, beside an altar of white stone, stood Theron. He wore black and silver, ceremonial robes flowing like living shadows. But it was his eyes that caught her, burning silver white, fixed on her with intensity that stole her breath. The assembled packs parted as Sarah walked forward. "That's her? The wolfless girl? This is a mistake. The ritual will kill her." Sarah kept walking, kept her eyes on Theron, who watched with something like reverence. She reached the circle, and an ancient female, Elder Moira, eldest of all wolves, stepped forward in ceremonial robes. "We gather under the blood moon," Moira's voice carried, "to witness the moonfire ritual, a binding of souls, a merging of destinies, a bond that cannot be broken. But this ritual is not without cost. The petitioner must face her deepest pain, her greatest fear, and emerge transformed. Many do not survive." Sarah's heart hammered. "Do you accept these terms?" Moira asked. "Do you willingly enter this bond, knowing you may not survive?" Sarah thought of Mira, safe, of 3 weeks feeling cherished, protected, seen, of Theron's silver eyes and the way he said her name like a prayer. "I do," she said, voice stronger than she felt. Moira turned to Theron. "And you, Alpha King, do you accept the risk of bonding your soul to one who may die?" "I do." No hesitation, absolute certainty. "Then let the ritual begin." Theron took Sarah's hand, leading her to the center. The stones began to glow, moonlight pulsing like water. He turned her to face him, hands cupping her face. "Look at me," he commanded softly. "No matter what happens, keep your eyes on mine. I'll be here with you." Sarah nodded, unable to speak. Elder Moira began chanting in the old language, words resonating in Sarah's bones. The moonlight intensified, forming a pillar of silver light enveloping them. And then, the binding activated with vicious force. Sarah screamed as pain exploded through every nerve. Worse than every attack combined, magnified 1,000 times. She felt the binding trying to tear her apart from inside, wrapping around her wolf and squeezing. "Stay with me," Theron's voice cut through. "Sarah, look at me." She forced her eyes open, found his gaze blazing with power and determination. His hands on her face were the only solid thing. "I can see it. I can see the binding. It's fighting back, but Sarah, you have to push. Push against it with everything you have." "I can't. It's too strong." "You are." His forehead pressed to hers, and suddenly she felt his power flowing through their incomplete bond. "You're the strongest person I've ever known. You've been fighting for 23 years and you never gave up. You protected your sister. You survived when anyone else would have broken. Don't give up now. Fight." Something inside Sarah shifted. She thought of every humiliation, every shame, every time someone called her nothing. She thought of her wolf, trapped and tormented. She thought of Mira, finally safe. And she thought of Theron, offering her his soul, his power, his eternity. No more, she thought with blazing fury. No more chains. No more hiding. No more fear. Sarah reached for her wolf with everything she had, felt the binding resist, trying to punish her. But this time, she didn't stop. She pushed harder, deeper. "I'm here," she told her wolf. "I'm here, and I'm not leaving you. We're going to be free." Her wolf responded with fierce joy. Together, they threw themselves against the binding. The ancient magic cracked. Just a hairline fracture, but enough. Power flooded through. Wild, primal, magnificent power tasting of moonlight and freedom. Sarah's eyes snapped open, blazing silver white to match Theron's. The courtyard went silent. "That's not possible. Silver eyes..." But Sarah barely heard. She was too focused on feeling her wolf. Finally close enough to touch. Close enough to be. "Almost there," Theron said, voice rough with emotion. "Just a little more. Break through." Sarah gathered every ounce of strength, hers, her wolf's, drawing on the bond connecting her to Theron, and pushed. The binding shattered. The sound was almost physical. A crack like thunder, like ice breaking, like chains snapping after 23 years. Silver light exploded from Sarah's body, so bright wolves across the courtyard cried out and shielded their eyes. And then the pain was gone. In its place was power. Clean, pure, overwhelming power singing through her veins. Sarah felt her wolf surge to the surface, felt her body beginning to shift for the first time. But she didn't complete it. Because in that moment between human and wolf, she felt something else. The soul bond, snapping into place with devastating finality. It was nothing like she'd imagined. Not gentle or gradual, but absolute and all-consuming. She felt Theron's soul crash into hers, felt their essences merging until she couldn't tell where she ended and he began. His emotions flooded her: relief, joy, possessive satisfaction, protective fury, and underneath it all, love so fierce it took her breath. She knew he felt hers too. Every moment of suffering, every second of loneliness, every desperate hope, every ounce of love she'd been too afraid to name, all of it laid bare. "Mine," his soul whispered to hers. "Finally, completely mine. Yours." Hers answered without hesitation. "Always yours." The silver light faded. Sarah stood in the center, still human but fundamentally changed. She could feel her wolf inside, awake, and wild and free. Could feel the bond humming between her and Theron, solid and permanent. Around them, shocked silence. Then Elder Moira's voice. "The ritual is complete. The bond is formed. The binding is broken." But no one looked at the elder. Every eye was fixed on Sarah, on the silver light still dancing in her eyes, on power radiating from her. "Celestial line," someone breathed. "She's from the celestial line, the lost bloodline." Sarah swayed, suddenly exhausted, and Theron caught her immediately. He lifted her into his arms, cradling her against his chest. When he spoke, his voice carried to every corner. "Let it be known across all territories. This is Sarah, my true bonded mate, my chosen queen, and the last heir of the celestial bloodline. Any who threaten her threaten me. Any who disrespect her disrespect the crown. And any who try to harm her will face the full wrath of the Alpha King." Then he looked down at Sarah, and his expression softened into something tender and fierce at once. His hand came up to lift her chin, making sure she met his blazing silver gaze, making sure every wolf present could see. "Mine," he said, loud enough for all to hear but speaking only to her. The single word carried the weight of prophecy, of destiny, of a bond 23 years in the making finally fulfilled. My mate, my queen, my everything. Sarah felt tears slide down her cheeks, not from pain, but from joy so intense it hurt. She raised her trembling hand to cup his face, her silver eyes locked with his. Yours, she whispered back. Always yours. Theron's smile was devastating. Then he leaned down and kissed her, sealing their bond before the assembled packs, under the blood moon. And as silver light exploded around them once more, as the celestial magic in Sarah's blood finally awakened, she felt her wolf throw back her head and howl with triumphant joy. The sound was echoed by Theron's wolf, then by every wolf in the courtyard. A chorus of recognition, celebration, witnessing something that hadn't happened in centuries. A celestial heir, awakened and claimed. Sarah was free. She was whole. She was home. Sarah stood on the balcony of the Obsidian Palace, watching the full moon rise. Her sister Mira was inside, laughing with Lyra. The sound made her heart full. Behind her, she felt Theron approach through their bond before his arms came around her waist. Thinking about running? He murmured. Maybe. She leaned into his warmth. Want to join me? His laugh was low and pleased. Always. They shifted together, one midnight black wolf and one silver white. As they raced into the forest under moonlight, Sarah felt complete. She'd been broken down at that moon ritual, stripped to nothing but pain and desperate hope. But Theron had lifted her chin and called her mine, and in doing so, he'd given her everything: freedom, power, love, family, and most importantly, herself. She was Sarah, Queen of the Northern Territories, last heir of the Eye, celestial line, true bonded mate to the Alpha King, and she was finally whole.